All right.
Like,
We got it.
Like prom night. We'll make it through this. We'll make it through it.
We will. Okay. Hi, it's Liz, and I'm here with Alex fucking Smith. For anyone who doesn't know who you are, can you tell them who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm the merch guy for a band called Sleep On It out of Chicago. I'm also a writer, so I have my own biography, basically, of Sleep On It and their struggles from their inception to today. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what I do, and I have people subscribe to my writing, and they kind of read what I do.
Okay, awesome. So I think you live a really unique, what you do for a living is really unique, and it's kind of crazy, I think, to outside people. So can you tell me, how did all of it kind of start for you?
Sure. So this is going to sound dumb, but it started because TJ Horansky, a guitarist for Sleep On It, had a class together at DePaul University. It was literally, he sat in my chair, and instead of beating him up, I became his friend, and that's probably the best decision I've ever made. He had a band from Cleveland, where he's from, Goodnight City Lights, and I kind of got into watching them, and then eventually Sleep On It formed, and the question was, do you want to run merch? And I said, sure. I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I kind of wing it. And then I started touring with them, and it was really just me going out with my friends, and to fill the void during the long drives, I started writing. And then I shared it with them, and they said, hey, this is cool. And so I kept doing it. So now here I am.
Awesome. Okay. Can you tell me, how did you know when you wanted to pursue writing, and, when did you know?
So I've always kind of wanted to be a writer. That was always a thing. I originally went to school for journalism here in Detroit. But I also saw journalism as a dying thing. I was like, I'm not going to make money off of this. Nobody gives a shit about writers. And so I became more practical. But when I started taking it seriously was earlier this year. We did the OK USA tour, and I said, hey, I'm going to do this thing called Patreon. It's a website where people can subscribe to artists and creators. If people sign up to it, that'll help, so the band doesn't have to pay me, and it'll help, make the writing. And that kind of took off, and I was like, I guess I'm a writer now. So that's kind of how it turned out.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. So when people ask you what you do for a living, how do you respond?
I tell them I'm voluntarily homeless most of the year, that I run merch for Sleep On It, and I'm a writer. It's not really simple. There's no simple way to put it. That's the biggest thing right there, is that I just write for a living, document a traveling band and their struggle. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
So okay, El Mercho Loco. That's a thing that you do, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell me more about that, and how that came to be, how that idea sparked?
So El Mercho Loco was born out of a music video idea. The music video hasn't dropped yet. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say what video it's for or anything like that, but there was an idea, and we kind of mocked the movie, and there was a scene where I was supposed to die, or essentially, and instead of just going out like a lame ass, I was like, how about if I put on a luchador costume and beat up some people first, so I go down. And really that all born out, I started watching this wrestling show with my girlfriend. It was called Lucha Underground, and it's just whatever. It's on Netflix. It was a free plug, Lucha Underground. And I got really into luchador, and she wanted to make a mask, and I was like, let's just make a whole character. And so we did that, and it's kind of randomly at Riot Fest, I decided to go on stage to do it. They were down for it, and I've since just kept doing it. So
that's so fun.
It's just one of those, I'm very thankful for Sleep On It for allowing me to be myself a lot of times, and myself sometimes means putting on a luchador costume and getting on stage. Plus there's this internet troll who took the El Mercho Loco Twitter when it's not me.
Yeah. Okay.
So he took the Twitter, and he tries to fuck with me and tries to talk shit to me. So I just keep doing it at this point because I just hope it makes him mad. So
fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me about maybe a frustrating moment that you've had while you've kind of built this world for yourself?
Yeah, the most frustrating thing that I encounter pretty frequently is trying to explain to people Patreon. Patreon's a new site. It's a wonderful site, and there's artists from all over. Just the way I use it's a little more unique because I charge people subscribe per journal, and they can put a cap on it, and they can say, hey, I only want to pay $10 a month max. And trying to get people to know that they can do that, as opposed to paying $1 per journal. Like I don't care how much you give; it can just be $1. Just having people reading my stuff is what's important, and getting something back in return. So the most frustrating thing is like getting people to understand, like, hey, you only get charged at the first of the next month for the previous month that happened. So it's not $1 right now; it's $1, like December 1st or January 1st, whatever. So that's the biggest thing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself, or where do you want to take your writing career in the future?
That's the biggest question I have to ask myself a lot, because at some point, Sleep On It story is going to be told. They could be a band for hopefully a very long time, but at some point, it's going to get to it where I'm not going to have anything to write about from my perspective. I'm going to do everything, and people are still going to love the music. People are still going to want to see Sleep On It, but they're not going to want to hear, we flew to Japan for the 20th time and, sat around in the venue all day and did nothing. Like, that's not exciting. So for me, building the brand, the Merch Life brand, and expanding out so other people can feel like they can express themselves, that's a big goal for me. And then also finding other bands. Like, if I have a platform where I can take a band, smaller bands that I really enjoy, good friends of mine, bands like Embracer out of West Virginia or Capstan out of Orlando, and getting in a van with those guys and kind of reliving, that's a new experience for me, and maybe people want to read about a different band other than Sleep On It for the millionth time. So
I'd love to see that. That'd be really, really cool. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's just jumping in other people's vans and seeing how the day goes. So
that's awesome. I hope that's something you're able to do.
Yeah, thank you.
What's the wildest thing you've seen a fan do at a show that you've been working at?
The wildest thing I've seen a fan do. Like, there's always something new and different, depending on where you go. Like, crowd surfers always get kind of crazy, but usually I think the wildest thing is in Vancouver. First time ever in Vancouver, there was this section of kids who, you're smiling because you read it, right? You read about it?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, because I wrote about this. There was this section of kids. It was their first concert ever, period. And they were 16-year-old weirdo kids out of British Columbia, Vancouver, and they kept coming to the concession stand for Monster. They kept getting more Red Bull, more Monster. They were jacked up. And then they got down to the front of the stage, and they were screaming at Sleep On It, and they did it for every band, for their freaking socks. I think part of the problem was that TJ gave him his socks. Like, he's like, sure, dude, like, whatever. Like, they're like socks he'd been wearing all day. They're all sweaty, and so he was gonna throw them out probably anyway. The kid's like, can I have your socks? And he sure, and he did it. And I think that gave the impression that all the bands were gonna do that, and they weren't. And it was kind of just a very bizarre show.
That's such an odd request.
It's a very odd request. And when Water Parks came on as the headliners, they were doing things like they ended up singing Smash Mouth. They sang All Star. They didn't know the words exactly, but they had the melody. Good for them. And then and Austin, the lead singer of Water Parks, didn't know what to do. He just let them go. Like, what do you do with the fans at that point? And then somebody threw the Canadian flag on stage, and those Canadians started, as soon as the flag came on stage, they started singing "Oh Canada," their national anthem.
I heard about that.
Instantly. As soon as the flag, Jeff, the guitarist from Water Parks, grabbed the flag, and as soon as it came out, "Oh Canada," we're like, what the hell is going on? Not that it's bad that they sing the anthem or anything like that. It was just very bizarre. And then after the show, the kid with the socks was like, yeah, man, we just see that flag go up, and we're just gonna sing our anthem, eh? This is what they do in the hockey matches, so that's what we're gonna do here. And we're like, cool, man. That's cool. Yeah, so I guess that's weirdest.
That's very bizarre.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Super bizarre.
Okay, so you spend a lot of time on the road, obviously. Can you tell me maybe a story about a time that you were scared, or maybe something particularly funny happened?
I get scared a lot. No, this is true. It's absolutely true. So we take a lot of weird roads and a lot of shit weather. It gets scary, and I get really bad anxiety. I've been in a lot of accidents, especially in the snow. And then taking that van and trailer around some of those mountains. I grew up in the Midwest. Everything's flat, and I've been in accidents. And so when I'm taking a van and trailer through the Rocky Mountains, through that snow, it gets scary. It's very stressful. Luckily, we end up working through it a lot, but it's hard, and it's hard for me to like fall asleep. Like they're like, just go to sleep. I'm like, I can't just go to sleep. And so I'm sitting in the passenger seat on my phone while TJ or Zach are driving, and I'm like telling them like, all right, you're gonna turn right. Here it comes. like you know, and, like it's silly, but like they let me do it. I don't know if it helps them, but it helps me, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's definitely the scary moments, and they're consistent.
Well, it's very kind of them.
Yeah.
Is there anything particularly funny that's happened, whether recently or something that sticks out?
Oh yeah, it's so many funny things, and like honestly, that's one of the reasons why I write the journals, right? Because I write them the night after everything happens, so I can kind of recap the day, and so if funny things happen, it's documented, and or at least from my point of view, it's documented and stuff. Nothing really sticks out that I can think of because so many things happen, so it's never just one thing. We get the giggles a lot. That's
a good reason for someone to go subscribe to your page.
Yeah, so if you want to know about the silly stuff, read the book, subscribe to the page, because there are plenty. There are plenty of funny stories of us doing crazy things on there. But yeah, absolutely. I don't write about the scary parts so much. So
it's all right.
that's a Liz exclusive there.
How has what you do changed you as a person?
I don't know if it's changed me as much as brought out the real me, if that makes sense. So I got my degree in video games, which is great. Like, video game schools exist, so if you're interested, do that. But yeah, and I had this mindset that I just always wanted to be a creator, and video games and games in general are a very team-oriented thing, which is fine. I'm usually good with teams. I played sports my whole life and stuff like that, but it's hard at this age to gather teams and get people all dedicated to one thing without any money. So the writing and stuff like that has really allowed me, and again, thankful for Sleep On It for letting me do this, to explore my own avenue and be my own boss and like just expand however I want to expand, whatever I want to do. There's no limits or anything like that. Like, publishers don't want to publish a book with a guy with fucking for his middle name, so I'm doing it all myself. So and that's really, I'm very proud of that because everything I do for the merch life, I own it. With the help of my manager, Connor Skelly, who's a great guy and he's very helpful and stuff like that, but he really just pushes me to do what I want to do and helps me with the administrative stuff in the meantime. So, yeah.
All right, that's awesome, dude. Okay, and I think I have one more question for you.
Sure.
All right, so and it's okay if you don't have an answer to this, but what's one question that no one ever asks you that you wish they would?
One question no one ever asked me. Which member of Sleep On It smells the best?
Well, what's your answer?
It's got to be Jake.
All right.
Jake is, I mean, we're all clean on tour, but Jake is
impressive within himself.
We do. We make a concerted effort to make sure we shower as often as we can, even if it means stopping at a gas station. But Jake goes the extra mile, and he has like good cologne and stuff like that, which I appreciate. As a fellow big guy, I appreciate it. Jake's a lot smaller than me, but you know, it's nice. It's nice to have a good smelling people, and especially a cutie like Jake.
Well, you heard it here first then.
Yeah.
If you want to know more about Alex or read his writing, I will leave those links down below, and we'll see you next time.